Hi, we're going to start and talk about types of presentations. So I first want to talk about the four presentations that we'll be doing in this class, and these are the four main ones. So these are your big assignments. Your first one's going to be an informative speech. Your second one is going to be a persuasive speech. Your third is going to be a group speech, so the focus is going to be on working with others. And your topic is going to be a little bit between an informative and a persuasive speech, depending on which route you decide to go. And then your final speech for the final exam is going to be a demonstration speech where you teach the class how to do something. So informative and persuasive are the two big types of speeches that we'll be focusing on with this textbook and in the class as well. So let's start off with the informative speech. An informative speech, your purpose is to inform your audience, and you can do this by conveying new information, increasing an audience's understanding of a topic, explain a concept or a process, describe an event that happened, an idea, a person, or demonstrate how to do something. So when we think about our how-to speech at the end, that truly, the purpose of that speech is to inform an audience of something. So a demonstration speech technically is an example of an informative speech as well. Different strategies to inform your audience. You can start by reporting new information, clarify difficult terms. This is really important, this and the explaining scientific phenomena. You really want to make sure that you break down your subject, especially if it's something that might not be as familiar to your audience as you are with it. I always say anything that's in the sciences or deals with technology and you have a vocabulary that unless you're in that field, others wouldn't know, you want to make sure you break it down enough for your audience to understand, because the biggest barrier between you and your audience is understanding. So if your audience doesn't understand what you're talking about, you kind of lose them from the very beginning. And the last strategy I have for you is to overcome confusion and misunderstanding. We know a lot of times in the media, think of what you see on social media all the time. We're in this era of fake news. So it's important to bring up some misunderstandings that people might have about your topic and to really eliminate the confusion. The next speech is the persuasive speech. So different from an informative speech, the purpose is to change someone's actions, ideas, or beliefs. With an informative speech, you don't necessarily care what they believe in. You're just there to teach them about a topic. Persuasive, you want to change their behavior or change their beliefs about something. There might be a chance that your audience already believes in what you are saying, and in that situation, you want to reinforce the existing ideas and make their belief in it stronger. With someone who might be on totally opposite sides of you, the best thing that we can do is find common ground. Common ground is defined as that area in the middle where there's something that you can both agree on when it comes to your topic. For example, your book gives a lot of examples of this. One that I can think of has to deal with gun control. So if you have the president of the National Rifle Association and someone who is anti-guns, what is something that they could both agree on? Well, you might think they're from two opposite sides, so that's impossible, but they could probably both agree that children shouldn't be playing with guns. That's something that both can agree on, and that is what we would call the common ground. So if you're speaking to an audience that you have a feeling disagrees with what you're saying, it's really important to find that common ground, so that's where you can work to. You don't want to pick these big goals that aren't going to be reachable. You got to take small steps to get there. So here's an example topic for persuasive speech for you. Plastic straws are bad for the planet. With a topic like this, most likely I would want to change the behavior of people using single-use plastics such as plastic straws. Right here I have my audience. So there's a little blurb about each of your audience member. I want you to pause this, take a second and read this slide so you can see what each person, what their little bio is. So take a second, pause it, and then unpause it when you're done. So after looking at these characters, who do you believe agrees with what you are saying the most? I would say it'd be Helen Doe. She teaches an environmental course at a university, so she probably agrees with you and understands that plastic straws are bad for the planet because there's a lot of scientific evidence to support that. So Helen is going to be the easiest person to get on your side because she already believes what you're saying. So what should you do with her? The correct answer is you would want to strengthen her belief. So either providing new information or really showing your passion for the subject so that it reinforces her belief. Who do you think would be the most difficult person to change their mind? I would say it's probably a tie here between Richard and Rose. Richard doesn't really see how this issue impacts him, so therefore doesn't really care with what you are saying. So that's something that you would want to give people a reason to care about. Rose is a little different. She's a business owner who buys thousands of straws each week. She knows paper straws are an option, but they're not necessarily in the budget, so she's going to be hesitant to really agree with you. So with Rose, the best approach would be is to find that common ground. Help her find alternatives of what she could use that could benefit her business, but also get her to change her actions in line with what your topic is. And finally, we have Lily Jones, who doesn't have an opinion on the subject. There's going to be people in your audience that, don't really care either way, so you want to be able to give them a reason to care, sort of like you would with Richard. This person would be a little bit easier to win over just because they don't already have an opinion on it whatsoever. I've always heard this saying, and I truly believe in it, whether you're giving speeches or working with others, there's going to be that top 10% that are going to disagree with you no matter what. They are very stuck in their ways. They're going to be the very hardest to change. Then there's going to be the bottom 10% that are very easy to change. They kind of go with the flow. So the big majority, the 80% left, is those in the middle. So those that don't have an opinion or don't feel strongly one way or the other, that should be your target audience for a lot of persuasive work because that's where the majority votes would be from. All right, the last type of speech is probably the most common. Epididactic speech is a speech that contains a strong emotional element. Chances are with the semester starting, you've already had to do a few of these. An example of this would be when you have to stand in front of the class and give yourself an introduction. That is an example of this type of speech. The big piece of it is it contains a strong emotional or personal element. So big examples of this are wedding toasts, eulogies at someone's funeral where you're talking about a person and reflecting on good times and bads, self-introductions, introductions of others, and award ceremonies where people say a speech about the honoree or whoever's winning the award. All right, and that covers the speeches that we're going to talk about in this chapter.